It was hard to get on because it said there was another meeting in progress.
Yeah, I think it was my mistake. Something I had learned with a kid. There's someone I learned with in the afternoon, and I didn't exit.
I see.
Problem.
Okay. Just so you know. All right.
Remember to record.
I'm recording as I talk. Okay, so this has become a small, like, what do you call in the old days? A parlor meeting or something. Something else. They used to, in the old Europe, they used to have like these meetings, something, a parlor. Anyway, it's just like an intimate group of people that come together, something like a big Joshua. So I don't necessarily feel that I have to give like fire and brimstone. I want to share something. It's a little light. It's been as man till Rosh Chodesh. We can be a little not light, but discussion. I'm leaving the forum open because I'm not in the mood to give a big drasha today. But I just wanted to share with you something I came across. I'm not sure if everyone saw this. In some of the from media, in the written from media, there was a full-page ad that's been appearing. I don't know if anyone noticed this. Signed by Rabbi Emanuel Feldman. Everyone knows him. He was the rabbi in Atlanta for many years, and a brother to Rabbi Aaron Feldman. Rabbi Hill Goldberg of what's it called? The Intermountain News in Denver is a famous newspaper. He's a great thinker. Dr. Aviva Weisbord, Rabbi Avi Shafran, and a few other journalists. Interesting that they put this in a few places. Anyone see it? It's the title of the page is Sinai, not Washington. An open letter to the Torah community. Curious to see what everyone thinks. No one saw this. I'm bringing. Oh, you saw it. You're from Denver. That's why you saw it.
And Hillel Goldberg used to live 2 doors away from us.
Wow, that's not why you moved out of Denver, right? You left despite that. He's quiet. I don't know him, but he's quite a person, I understand. So anyway, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the title of the article is Signing in Washington, an open letter to the Torah community. The unhealthy confusion of Torah values with politics brings disrepute to Torah and harm to Torah Jews. I'll read you one part of it. You can look it up probably, if you probably Google Signing in Washington will come up. And then I want to read you something else I read in another paper. It goes like this. As a community, it says, no party platform can substitute for Masorah. As a community, we ought to clearly and proudly stand up for the Torah's stance on societal issues, embracing a world view that identifies with no party or political orientation. Our interests may dovetail with a particular party or politician in one or another situation, but our values must remain those of Sinai, not Washington. Moral degradation affects a broad swath of the American political spectrum. In the camps of both liberals and conservatives, many political players are on a hyper-partisan quest for victory at all costs. Good character and benevolent governance are devalued. Contrition is seen as weakness, and humility is confused with humiliation. Many politicians and media figures revel in dividing rather than uniting the citizens of our country. Others legitimize conspiracy theories. None of this is good for Americans, certainly not for us as Jews. Shameless dissembling and personal indecency acted out in public before the entire country are, in the end, no less morally corrosive than the embrace of abortion on demand or the normalization of same-gender relationships. The integrity and impact of what we convey to our children and students about Kedusha, Tznius, Emes, Kavod, Abrius, and Midas Tavis are rendered hollow when contradicted by admiration for, or even absence of revulsion at, politicians and media figures whose words and deeds stand opposed to what we Jews are called upon to embrace and exemplify. These are not new problems, but the challenge seems to grow worse with time. If we don't stop to seriously consider the negative impact of our community's unhealthy relationship with the current political styles, we risk further erosion of our ability to live lives dedicated to truly Jewish ideals. And then it goes on, then there's several paragraphs, and I can read them. The next paragraph is called, we Jews are charged to be an example for all Americans. The next paragraph is, we must not allow ourselves to be co-opted by any party. The next paragraph is, we must ensure that Israel is not used as a political weapon. And finally, we should vote as Jews, not partisans. Interesting. Okay, so didn't there no, I guess you wouldn't call them Gedolim sign on it, but, you know, prominent rabbis, thinkers, outstanding individuals It's just fascinating that they publicize this, and this is in many of the front papers. I don't know if they put it into attached to the Torah community, so I guess it's only in the Jewish media, in the Orthodox Jewish media. But it's a pretty powerful statement for a group of people to say in light of the political realities that we're living in. I think I can't imagine that anyone on this forum and our little group doesn't somehow feel sympathetic to what they're saying. And
Where did you see it written? Where did you see it?
I saw this one I copied from the Mishpacha magazine. Do you have the Mishpacha?
Yeah, I didn't see it though. Maybe
So
you
it's communicated. It's not that they obviously paid for it, and you should look at you flip through the page. I think you'll find it. I think it's in the Mishpacha. That's right. I got it from the Mishpacha magazine. And okay, so that's something. It's something to think about. It bothers us. I mean, I can't say everyone. A lot of people are sympathetic to the style of our esteemed president. But I personally, I just say, I mean, this is a small forum, even though I'm being recorded, thanks to Zach. But I cringe listening to him. Whatever. I just believe in Shlem Melech, Leib Melachim V'Sarim B'Yad Hashem. God, he manages manipulates whatever they do is all from heaven. They're a bunch of puppets anyway, so I really don't listen to the puppets too much. So, but that's because I cringe. I can't. I have a very hard time. I just read recently. This would really. It's almost like comical. It's almost like a comic book that they were seriously considering forming a statue, a memorial on Mount Rushmore with some of his aides. Were seriously considering creating on Mount Rushmore an image of the president. It's just like bizarre to even think of it. Like it's almost comical, but okay. Anyway, so then there's another front paper, the Yated Naman, and there's someone who writes an article there. I don't know who he is, but he writes some intelligent articles of Ram Birnbaum. He's written some books, but he writes like this. So he takes the title of his article is "The Folly of the Frum Never Trumpers." That's what he calls it. So I'm just going to excerpt. It's a very long article. But, so he starts off, never Trumpers, conservatives who would rather have anyone running the country, even the strong progressive wing of the party led by the likes of AOC, other than President Trump, are primarily longtime conservative pundits. Some are has-beens who are pining after their glory days. Some are rigid Bali Shita who cannot tolerate veering from the script with which they define conservatism. President Trump is a person not bound to ideology, rather to pragmatism. He is also a tremendous disruptor of the old order. That irks him to no end. In addition, the president can be uncouth, abrasive, self-contradictory, and untruthful. It'd be better if you use the word lying. He is rude on Twitter. Those things really bother the elegant souls of these classic conservatives, and it's so repulsive to them to the point that they are willing to vote for anyone except him, even if it means bringing AOC and the Bernie Sanders wing of the party into the mainstream. Okay, he says, now there's a similar phenomenon, the frum world. Although they are a small minority, the frum world has their wing of vocal never-Trumpers who, believe it or not, try to cloak their enmity for the president in nothing less than Torah values. Yeah, they're pretty strong words there. Okay, so then he goes on, and he says like this. He says he cringed himself, and he said he didn't even vote in the voting booth for Trump. He did a write-in for Trump. That's how he apologizes. He felt that Trump wasn't a role model. He was irked by it. I still don't think he's a role model, he writes. I still don't think that the way he conducts himself in personal life is something I want to emulate or want anyone in my community to emulate. That said, this time, I will pull the lever for him in a heartbeat. And I think with 4 years of hindsight behind us, the most charitable thing I can say about any frum Jew who doesn't is that he is a fool. This is just the opposite. And he writes like this. I'm just going to read you a little bit. If you're interested, I can try to copy this and send it to you. But it says like this: why did I change? I got a better understanding of what today's Democrat stands for. And I realized that despite the president's problematic bedside manners, most of his policies are far better for the future of frum life in this country and for the preservation of the lives of Jews in Eretz Yisrael and elsewhere. When I speak to or see the writings of the frum never-Trumpers, I am flabbergasted by the lack of understanding or the willful blind eye they show to the current political climate in which we reside. The truth, after all the hyperbole, is that I think we can summarize the bottom line with the arguments as follows. One, the president is the antithesis of the role model for Torah values, midas tovos and the like, and he should not be idolized under any circumstance. And two, it is never good for Yidden and Golos to identify one particular political party or camp. We need the goodwill of both parties. Let us address the first point. I would be surprised if there is even one person with a modicum of seichel who thinks that the president's personal life or the insulting way that he tweets or talks is anything to emulate. The fact that never Trumpers use that argument speaks more for their elitism and their low approval of Jewish masses. It would appear that they deem the great, unwashed, from masses insufficiently enlightened to be able to make the distinction between the man and his policies. Also, for some reason, they seem to always focus on the president as the one responsible for bringing down the level of discourse in the country, rather than the crazed, venomous, and hate-filled reaction to him and his policies. There's some truth to that, too. The second argument presented from Never Trumpers has more merit than the first. Indeed, it's never good for Jews to be in one political camp. Certainly not Orthodox Jews. And Golos, we need the goodwill of both political parties. The pendulum of politics swings, and when the Democrats are in power and they perceive that most Orthodox Jews support the other party, we lose influence. That is a very valid point. The only thing they forgot is that we already lost their support, big time. Or perhaps, as the current occupant of the White House would say, bigly. Sometimes I wonder what it will take to get these highbrow purveyors of truth to recognize what is happening. Are they waiting for the woke culture to come and shut down our shuls and shivas because they are discriminatory and just plain phobic about everything? Do they not realize that today's Democrat Party is one that is in many ways hostile to religion, or at best very unsympathetic to religion, especially when it clashes with the religion of progressivism? Does the squeamishness of the frum Never Trumpers regarding the bedside manner of the current occupant of the White House cause them to sacrifice the real Jewish values of our religion, our ability to practice and teach Yiddishkeit in our schools, and daven in our shuls without significant government interference? And he goes on and on, but he brings some valid points here. In other words, it's not so simple. It's not so simple. Okay, he's a bore and he's uncouth and inappropriate. But what's vying for him? I mean, there's truth, and so this is really something. I'll try to copy it and I'll send it. I'll email it as email to our readers so you can read it, so you read for yourself. But it's something to think about. It's really intriguing me. Like, where do we stand? So on the one hand, is it just to be quiet and do what's pragmatic, or do you have to stand for your ideals? And if it's wrong, it's wrong. So how do you do? So for today, we're going to leave it with this because I have to have mincha. But for tomorrow, something came to my mind, a piece of history that I'll share tomorrow. Very fascinating. I'm not sure it's exactly parallel, but it's an interesting historical. I'll leave you a little bit intrigued. So I won't tell you which piece of history, but I think something similar, not exactly the same, but something similar happened some time ago in our history. And I mentioned we'll share it tomorrow. Meanwhile, I leave you for something to think. And how does it say? Roll to Cronkite says that's the way it was. Is that it? Is that it? And that's the way it was. Anyone?
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is, and that's the way it'll be. I don't know, but that's the way it is now. Okay, great listening to you all, and I'd like everyone to weigh in with their opinion tomorrow. After or the next day. Something to think about. We have a nice group here, so let's share ideas. Okay. Be well, Zach. I want to hear what you have to say also. Be well. Be well. Okay.